fitness is like a great way to start. If like you don't know where to start, like don't worry about finances. Like just keep the promises to yourself and treat your body right, and like that's already will build enough momentum to like lead you into other areas in life.
Is that something that people don't talk about? It's the rejection, because they're like, oh, just get over and do it. But I never actually considered re-listening to your calls, and you went through like the fucking extremes to your calls. You listen to them, and it's a really nice way to frame self-awareness. Is that you have to study yourself in a way, right? Like that's how you develop self-awareness. Because there's like a road to self-mastery is first understanding yourself, and you're just so like calm and collected.
Yeah.
You know, that it's almost like a serial murder vibe.
A little bit.
A little too calm. Hey, welcome back to the Fin Frugal podcast. I am your host, Hani Nguyen. So today I'm super excited in this new series I have here with my friend Kevin.
Hey.
Kevin Duboe, right?
Yeah, it's Kevin Duboe.
Yeah. I'm like,
wait, is this the other time?
did I get the wrong one?
Yeah.
Where's your brother? Oh, that would be funny if we do the next one with your brother.
Exactly.
Like, which one are they? So Kevin, you are a mortgage
lender.
Mortgage lender by day, Batman by night, that kind of deal? Or?
Exactly. Yeah. Is that what Tanner said?
No, I'm just kidding.
He told me that before. Mortgage lender. That's pretty much all I do. And then I live a very like healthy, like fit lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I like to show that type of content as well.
Yeah. I think the last time we were talking about just how to live like a holistically healthy and wealthy life, it kind of comes down to breaking that first barrier of growth. And that barrier comes with a lot of judgment and like losing friends and just people kind of looking at you like you're better than me because you're choosing to do better.
Right.
I think that's one of the topics that I found really profound. It's just in that conversation, because I think a lot of people that want to change their life, that's their first, stepping stone into the world of self-development. I don't like the word self-help, but
yeah, it's personal development at the end of the day. And it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. Is like I like to journal, and I felt like I was like hesitating in certain areas of my life, and I researched like what hesitation is, and it's like what's the opposite of hesitation is decision. You know, making a decision. And like really the Latin root of decision is to cut off. So whenever we do have to like make a change and we decide to do something else for our lives, that means we also have to cut off certain things in our life. And that can usually be friends, or it can usually be vices, or, certain things we have to let go of in order to really go on that path of change.
Yeah. What was the hardest and biggest thing that you had to cut off for you to be on this path?
It's a good question. When I first kind of started this journey, like I was 19 when I like left college and decided to go into like real estate and mortgages. I think at that point it was like just letting go of a lot of friends, because at that time, they were, you're 20 years old in college and most people are like partying and wanting to have fun and do all this stuff. And like, I just had to like change that whole dynamic. So I think that was hard, but, to me it was also worth it, at the same time, but it was hard. Yeah. Like, I think it's always hard, like, 'cause I never want to hurt other people's really like feelings, or because of like, if I care about them, like just because I'm doing something else doesn't mean like I don't stop caring about you.
Yeah. Did you feel like you lost a little bit of your sense of identity as well when you had to let go of some of those things?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. With like, because like I was more like an athlete growing up, so like all my friends, same thing, and then everybody else is, it's a separate clique essentially. Like they have their own way of doing things. So like me having to go a different path, which luckily I had my twin brother with me. So we kind of at the same time decided to do our own thing in like real estate and mortgages, and that definitely helped. But yeah, it is hard. We're looking back now, you can see like these are just like what has to happen whenever you're changing like an identity or you're changing yourself. Like Ed Milet likes to talk about is like when you change your identity, it's also like you're changing your inner friends as well in order to match what you're looking to like, achieve or go for.
Yeah, because I think David Meltzer, I just saw a video that he was talking about, like, let's just say if you're at like base camp 5 and there's people below you and there's people above you, right? Like you can't, it just depends on how your perspective on it, because the people that's trying to reach out for a hand is either going to pull you down with them.
Yeah.
And the people above you are never going to be like, hey, haha, you're down there or whatever. They're always going to try to help you.
Right.
And it's always a different perspective. And when you brought up like making decisions, because Alex Hormozy said the same thing, it's kind of like the faster you can make a decision, the better, because you're not wasting that time just idling.
Yeah.
And you're kind of just either you do or you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you see that growth? Like, how do you make your decisions in terms of your health and fitness? Like, do you put yourself on a routine, or is it something that you're still developing each day to be better?
Um, I think it's more of a lifestyle for me now at this point, but because I don't go to the gym just to, or eat healthy just to like look a certain way, or else like that doesn't really last long for me. If I have a deeper meaning like I want to live like a very extensive life where I can be there for my family, for my grandkids. I can be a role model for like my sisters and for everybody around me. Like then that makes it more purposeful for what I do every day. But in terms of like routine, like I have like a certain diet. I also um, got trainers involved so I can help me elevate myself. So that's why like I'm big on like mentors
Mhm.
and in any area of life. If you want to like fast track, like I got like really good trainers like around me that help me like get a better understanding about my body, and then that led me. Now that I have a more understanding of my body and how my body works, then I can have more control of like my decisions, and I know the outcomes of certain things. Like if I eat this certain type of food, I'm going to feel, really good. Or if I eat this type of food, I'm going to feel really bad. So I just like, when I'm making decisions about like food or like fitness, like I just attach it to a bigger purpose, and then that allows me to make the decisions easier too, and like who I need around me, you know.
Yeah. I like that you brought it up that you don't work out just to look a certain way anymore, because I think that's like level one of working
Yeah,
out
yeah.
is people set such a high expectation on the superficial changes that's supposed
Mhm.
to happen to your body on a physiological
Yeah.
aspect, not just that. Now I joke around, but I'm like, if I don't work out, my mental health is shit. But some
Yeah,
days it really be
exactly.
like that,
Yeah,
you know?
100%. 100%. Like that's literally one
Yeah.
of the main reasons I go is like so I can get mental clarity.
Mhm.
So I just feel good, and like I go in the mornings so that way um it's a great start to my day. Like if I can get a win at the beginning of the day, it makes it so much easier throughout the day. If I have to make 50 calls or whatever it is, it's like I'm already winning throughout the day. So
Yeah.
it just makes it easier versus like me. And it really is just like it's like keeping your promises to yourself. Like
Yeah.
you're building self-confidence throughout the day with these little wins. And it's like, if I tell myself I'm going to do X, Y, Z, I go do it. You're able to develop that like self-trust and that self-confidence. And then
Yeah.
that leads you to like, now if I want to go like, say, I tell myself I've done that consistently for like 6 months or whatever, how much more likely am I going to be able to say like, oh, I'm going to go, create this business? Like you have already all these like wins and this trust within yourself where like when you go tell yourself you're going to go do it, like you're going to go do it.
Yeah.
And like, that's what like high achievers like have. They just have like an impeccable like records of self accountability and self trust.
Yeah. You feel better too.
100%.
Yeah. And I think tying into it, because you said you got trainers and stuff,
Yeah.
right? For your physical health, obviously.
Mhm.
How does that tie into your business? Like, do you use that financial expense as, because, people invest more into something that they have financial ties in.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
hey, I put 10,000 here, so I better get
Oh yeah.
$10,000 worth of value out of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, how has
100%.
that integrated, you investing in yourself and your physical well-being? How has that tied into your business?
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of funny. Like one of my biggest months I had as like as a lender and stuff was during my competition, which I was just so disciplined because of like because I was doing competition at the time with like my training, with my food, like that just poured into like my other areas of life, including business. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, I invest like on a yearly basis, into like either events, coaches, and it just allows you to, especially in this day and age, it just allows you to get into in front of people that are way ahead of you or exactly where you want to be and learn from that person, versus like trying to do it on your own. I think it's egotistical for someone to have like, let's just say $5,000 and they don't want to go like pay someone to go help them. versus trying to figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Because you're buying the shortcut, which is the time,
Yeah.
not the shortcut to the money, but
Yeah.
the shortcut of just compressing that time
Yeah, exactly.
to get to wherever it is that you want to go, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you're being humble by like saying like, hey, here's my money. Like I'm willing to learn and what you have to say, right? To like
Yeah.
this other person.
What was like the biggest thing that you have to overcome with losing your friends? Like, was it the negative comments? Is it something that they're giving you certain vibes, right? Because you said wherever you need to go next, like people will be there.
Yeah.
But when you lose out on those friends or when you have to cut out those friends, what was that thing, like that mental thing? Like you said, you had some blocks and some limiting beliefs. Do you feel like after you let go of those friends that you freed yourself completely and just not give those people control over your mental space?
Like you mean, yeah, like how I felt after, like right after
Yeah.
making that decision. I think like the tension or the battle like within is like realizing like you want to be like friends still, but then you're trying to decide. So like you're in this kind of like almost in between stage. But the faster you decide to like stick to this like certain path that you want to, the more peace you'll have with it, you know?
Yeah.
And you also will, as soon as you really do decide, how quickly people that are also trying to do the same thing that you are doing or on the same path, you find those people and like those people become your new friends. And then now you guys are more aligned because of what, you know, certain values and certain goals that you guys have.
Yeah.
And then that's way more reassuring. So
Yeah. Because you said like you want to tie purpose and meaning into everything that you do so that you can actually be there generationally speaking, right? Because you don't want to be 80 years old and you can't pick up your grandkid.
yeah, exactly.
And like your hip breaks or
Yeah.
something and you fall on the floor and you can't get up, like those commercials of how poorly, I guess, we were conditioned to treat our body.
Yeah.
And that now health and fitness, if you take that as a pillar, like we obviously have the same pillars. It's like, I love you, but my health is my number one thing.
Yeah.
Because the money, the business, the relationships can't really come if you're in a shitty place mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Obviously, if you're falling apart,
Yeah.
you don't take care of yourself, you can't really pour into other people as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's a really important way that you kind of put perspective into my head. It's like, hey, if you add meaning to it, because there's a lot of people that I think in their 20s, especially, they're like, I'm finding myself, I'm this, I'm that. And I know I went through the same things like towards later in my 20s because I'm like, my life doesn't have value besides I'm just chasing money. I'm on this hamster wheel.
Right.
I'm falling apart.
Right.
I'm just spiritually kind of like broken and I just don't have really any real meaning or any meaningful relationships to where I feel like I'm on a purpose-driven path.
Right. Yeah.
And when you brought up like alignment, like it's really powerful because a lot of people, that's a lot of terms that I think people kind of throw around.
Yeah.
I'm in a season of alignment, but they're not really in tune of what it is that they want or trying to find like their higher calling or their purpose. How do you suggest, let's just say like we identify with those meanings or callings or purpose? Like how do you identify yourself within those words and like?
I think I'm still, I guess, like discovering it day by day.
Because you're in your 20s,
I'm like, I'm just like learning. Like, I think I used to focus a lot on like outcomes and future, and which is great. Like you want to do that, but what I found like to be more rewarding is like the daily process. So like I find purpose with just even like waking up at a certain time, drinking a certain amount of water when I wake up, going to the gym, journaling. Like these are just like things I'm telling myself I'm gonna go do, and I do them, and it just gives me confidence to go throughout the day, versus trying to focus so much on this like outcome, because we really can't control outcomes, but we can control our daily process. Like in Atomic Habits, like that book is phenomenal, but it describes like all these like high level achievers, like they don't actually focus on the outcome, even though they really, really want it. They just focus on the daily habits and the daily process that actually ends up, getting the result that they want.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to just focus on. And, right now, I guess in my stage of life, I'm just focused on those steps related to work, related to my health and fitness, and just becoming a better role model for myself and for the people like around myself. And something that you mentioned is like, you know, like it's hard for me to like listen to someone that maybe is like very, very rich, financially, but they just trash their bodies. Like I just want to listen to the person, because like you can you can make a lot of money, but if you're choosing to trash like your body and and you're really just lying to yourself if you think like not being healthy is like okay.
Yeah.
So I'm also just very specific now with like the people that I like choose to listen to.
Mhm.
And that's something that I think a lot of people like will easily are influenced with like the people on social media because they have a nice car or they have XYZ and they think that's what they want. But like at the end of the day, like how do you like is this someone that you truly would want to like replace your life with? Do they have like the health lifestyle that you want? Do they have the family that you want? Do they have the finances that you want?
Yeah.
That's something that I did wrong in my early 20s, I think, is like I would just listen to everybody and not really understand like who that person is.
Yeah. I actually really like that take because also in my 20s, it's all about money.
Mhm.
And what I didn't realize until I was like 30 that taking care of your health is actually the highest form of self-respect,
Mhm.
which at the time, I mean, during the 20s, like all the drinking, the drugs, and all of that stuff. And I'm like, what we call like self-sabotaging, right?
Yeah, yeah, for
Because
sure.
you are lowering yourself from the potential that you could have
Right.
because you don't allow yourself to be at your full capacity. You can't perform at your highest capacity because one, I was always hungover.
Mhm.
I'm always anxious because I'm hungover.
Right, right, right.
And a lot of that kind of ties into the limitations that I had because it's much easier to choose to drink and feel shitty about myself and
Mhm.
to just perform and still try to reach for perfectionistic tendencies and all of these overachieving things. But the levers weren't really there
Yeah.
because my foundation was all wrong. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until I took care of myself. Like I wish I would have done that in my 20s.
Mhm.
But that's something that I had to learn the hard way, right? Because
Right,
there's
right.
always a lesson, there's always tuition that you have to pay. And I paid with my health.
Right.
And until I took those steps and until I realigned myself to people that are on the same path with the lifestyle choices, I really like that you said that. Would you replace your life with this person? Is because people are always so miserable when they're looking on social media at other people's highlight reels. They're seeing the finances, the cars, the girls, the
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever that they'd idolize or whatever social media says is cool to have.
Right.
And they don't look at the back end, which is really hard to measure someone's happiness and holistic health outside of what they post.
Yeah. No,
You
that's
know?
a great point.
Yeah.
What was like the kind of the decision on like when you made that shift to be like, oh, I need to like respect myself. I need to like treat my body well. I need to, when did you start making that change?
Officially been sober for 7 months, but I tried to make those changes last year because I'm like, what is the point of me spending thousands of dollars a year going to all these self-development conferences and
Mhm.
all of these things and trying to work on my mindset if I'm doing the same things? I'm just buying time and I'm buying social activities
Mhm.
around drinking because what happens when you go to conferences is after parties, after parties, after parties,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's strip clubs and all of these things. I'm still doing the exact same things. But until one day I woke up and it was I think it was last July when the Hermosis was there at WealthCon or whatever it
Okay.
was called,
Okay.
Future Flipper, that I was hungover and I almost missed it. And I'm like, why did I just spend a couple $1,000s when I'm hungover and I can't even enjoy it?
Right.
But from that moment on, I started picking up the pattern. I'm like, I don't want to wake up like this anymore.
Right.
But until I realized it was an addiction that I created my life around, just social drinking,
Mhm.
that I realized what I was lacking. And until I gave up that one thing, I got my entire life back.
Yeah.
Like my health's on point. Like I love being able to cook for myself.
Mhm.
Like I do the things that I enjoy, which people call boring. And now I idolize being boring.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like you said, it's the structure.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know how much structure like could feel so good. And I like, you're not fun anymore. All you do is this. I'm like, good.
Yeah, yeah.
90% of my life is me. It's my control.
Yeah, yeah.
And the 10% you just kind of leave to the universe, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
exactly.
I'm all yours. I surrender. I'll let go. I'll
Mhm.
let go of all the vices that, like you said. And I think that moment kind of changed when I started having better conversations with people.
Mhm.
And it really just opened my eyes to this new world
Mhm.
of how to live a life that's truly fulfilling and happy and
Yeah.
talk to people that want the same things.
Yeah.
And to the people that are still in the drinking culture, like, no offense, like you do what you do,
Right, right.
and it's,
Yeah, I have no like judgment with
yeah.
like whatever everybody else does. I just have like a certain standard like for myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And you can take that however you want.
Yeah.
But I just feel like you were also just aligned with like what you were truly seeking for. You know, you were going to these development, personal development things, and then you actually went and applied that right to your own life, and like that just made it way more like real for you.
Yeah. It
So
was the self-awareness that I got in the
yeah,
last 2 years that compounded into like the 1 month of me opening my eyes, like kind of waking up to the life that I created for myself.
hmm
I'm like, what is the one element that I truly want to remove
hmm
that could change everything?
hmm
Like you think it's the friends, you think it's all of that stuff. Like you think you'll lose your social life. Like I actually don't.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I think I have a better social life now. It's because it's not revolved around just getting fucked up and
right, right, right.
getting bottle service or buying a bunch of drugs or whatever, right?
Yeah,
And I don't know, it just
that's
doesn't really appeal to me.
yeah. It's not as like
Yeah.
as meaningful, I think, as you said
Yeah.
before. You know,
It's like I can spend $5,000 doing that, or I can spend $5,000 going to a conference
yeah, yeah,
and actually meeting people like mentors that can help me be like, "Hey, I need to make this business and this is where I'm fucking up. How can you help me?"
right,
Right? Like, do you have any advice? Or just be around people that just make your problem that you have, like your huge problem, seem so small and so possible.
hmm
Because I think the biggest mindset shift that I had was when I was talking about my old friends, just basic real estate stuff. And they were just like, ah, like that's so boring, da da da, like take
yeah,
a
yeah,
shot and like do all of these things. I'm like, no, I find these things like intriguing.
yeah, yeah.
And
Well, it's like 90, like the majority
yeah,
of the stuff that like leads to success is gonna be boring. It's like, oh, after this, I gotta make like 50 more calls.
yeah,
Like when I get to my office, nobody wants to go do that,
yeah,
but like I'm willing to go do that. And even if I don't feel like doing it, or if I do, it doesn't matter. Like it has
yeah,
to get done. And like those are like the type of habits that
yeah.
have to be created. You know?
And I really kind of like digging deep into just the everyday foundational stuff that we
Mhm.
call boring, but social media also highlights like overnight success. And then now it's kind of slowly coming out. It's like, yeah, like the overnight success takes them like 20 years.
Yeah, yeah,
But if you really look at their habits every single day, this is exactly what they did for 20 years. Like,
yeah.
are you willing to put yourself through that sacrifice of losing out on everything else?
Right.
When really you're just paving the road to a different life that you said you want and you have to let go of everything else,
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think with health and fitness, like when you're in the gym and you're like, do you have like motivational speech going on, or how does your gym routine work out?
yeah.
Look like differ to like a normal person?
Yeah, actually, I don't get to think about it that much, but now you're bringing it up. Like when I already have like a little routine where I have some of my supplements before I go to the gym, that kind of thing. But I think as soon as I step into the gym, one, I know the workouts that I'm doing, which helps out a lot. Meaning like I pretty much stick to like a 3 month like workout routine. So I do it for 3 months and then I switch like my workouts. And really what I like about this is like once you're in a routine of doing the same workout, now now that my body knows exactly what I'm going to do every single day, I can now it's more about like how am I going into the workout? Meaning how intentional am I about like the reps that I'm doing? How intentional am I uh, about my self talk? You know, because you can I do like weekly like gym things with like other people to get like workouts in. And some people like when they're at the gym, they're distracted or they're talking about like something else or talking about something negative. For me, like when I'm going to the gym, I want to be intentional about my workout and also like making sure I'm giving myself the positive self talk that I need in order to like go throughout my day and have like a winning day. Cause like I wake up tired just like everybody else. I wake up sometimes like not wanting to go to the gym, not wanting to like wake up. But when I get to the gym and I pretty much like work on myself at the gym, like mentally. Yeah, I'm working out and I'm doing those things, but I'm also like getting a lot more positive self talk.
Yeah.
By the end of the workout, I feel like incredible where I'm like, man, like I'm the man. Like I can
Yeah.
go conquer the day, whatever I need to go do.
Mhm.
Um, uh, send like a positive like message to people, whatever it is. Like it's we already know like science, like we have all these endorphin rushed like after our workouts as well. So we're at a very high frequency, you know?
Yeah.
So, but mainly like I stick to like a workout and I'm just make sure I'm intentional. And I think a lot of people are just very distracted when they go to the gym. I do listen to music. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I listen to a podcast. Just depending on how I feel. Most
Yeah.
times it's music, but it's just about like being intentional.
Yeah.
And that way, if I do that in my workout, I can be intentional throughout the rest of my day too.
I think that's a really important factor is focus.
Mhm.
because I think the mind muscle connection thing that more and more people are talking about,
Yeah.
it's connecting to the breath and it's connecting to you and just staying aligned in that rep.
Yeah.
Like 8 reps and 10 reps can feel totally different if I'm just like,
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
just
know,
moving, or also
you know.
like trying to, like I said, muscle mind connection with
Mhm.
like your actual muscles. Like I close my eyes like pretty much the whole time during my workout,
Really?
like 70% of the time, like when I'm like really working out, like I'm closing my eyes, like actually just imagining like me doing the rep, but I'm focused on my muscles, like contracting and stuff. And that way, like there's like no distractions.
Ah, I've never thought of that.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't trust myself enough.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
been training for almost like 12 years. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, that muscle mind connection is a little bit different when like you close your eyes, because now you don't have any sensory, like all you're just focused on, like, you know,
Like a squat.
I guess
It's like
a squat I will with my eyes, but something where I'm like seated or anything like that, where like
or like,
I'm not gonna hurt myself.
yeah.
You can do that, and a lot of the top athletes do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I call it, like for lateral raises, it's like the hardest for girls because we're not built to like want to work out our shoulders and chest.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I think those and back, like upper is now like my favorite just
Yeah.
because that was my weakest point.
Mhm.
I think that's gonna be the perfect eye closing thing
Yeah, yeah.
too. I feel like every time I'm doing lateral raises, I'm like, this is when I fight my demons.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's when my
That's a perfect
demons
one.
come out.
I always do it with lateral raises. So,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
because I'm just envisioning it now. I'm like, this is when I fight the demons. All the negative self-talk kind of comes out.
Yeah, exactly. And
You
that's like
really,
the battle. That's what I like
yeah,
about like the workout is like you usually get all this self-talk that's like within you, but like you get to choose like how you want to battle it. Like I'll start envisioning like how I want my body to look, how I want my day to look, how I want my life to look while I'm like working out,
yeah,
so that way like our brain, goes to what it's like familiar with. So if I'm like can familiarize myself with the type of life that I want or the type of body I want, I'm going to start attracting that,
yeah.
you know?
Because they say that it's the same frequency as you mentioned earlier. Like the higher you raise your frequency, which is now that I'm hearing you're speaking positivity into the affirmations of the things that you want to create. Because if
Mhm.
for us to get into flow state and like creation state, like it's a different level that you have to be, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What was the
100%.
biggest like limiting belief that you always have around your negative self-talk that you had to break?
I think more recently it's just been like my self-sabotage, to be honest. Like I was writing down hesitation the other day because like I felt like a lot of parts of my life I would hesitate on, like on business or really just my self-belief. And that's why like keeping the promises to myself is so vital because that builds my self-confidence.
Yeah.
But yeah, like self-sabotage meaning like if I was doing well in business, then like all of a sudden I would slow down just because I had a good month or these things versus um even my body. I've done that. Like I've gone through cycles where like I do really, really like extreme like type of like workouts and challenges and then like I kind of go off for a little bit. Really right now it's just like making sure I can maintain like a high level. Like that's what I want.
Yeah.
And that's really I think that's really based off my self-confidence and because if we wouldn't self-sabotage if we didn't truly believe that's what we deserve, you know? If I truly say like I want to have like a high level of like business and high level of like fitness, but then I like have these lapses
Mhm.
in my character, then that's self-sabotage, meaning like at a certain level I believe that's what I'm worth, you know?
I see.
So it's just about increasing my self-worth, which is just keeping the promises to myself.
Yeah. Like let's just say if you skip a workout
Mhm.
on purpose, not the intentional rest day.
Yeah, yeah.
And during that self-sabotage, you'd be like, oh, it's okay. It's my free day. I'll just snack,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's how I identify self-sabotaging as now is because now that I'm eating better, I actually don't have cravings on junk food and all of that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
It's because I've reconditioned and rewired my brain,
Mhm.
hopefully to not crave for that. And when I know I'm reaching for it, there's something else that I'm purposely trying to avoid,
Mhm.
which is how I'm creating a distraction for myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So I'm always like, oh, I'm so creative. And I'll find tasks for me to do so that I don't do that thing that I said I'm going to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So, for example, if I'm like, I'm going to edit this video and I'll be like, oh, but the laundry. So I'll do the laundry.
Yeah, yeah,
And then I
yeah,
end
yeah.
up in the pantry and I start cleaning the pantry and I end
Yeah,
up in
yeah.
the fridge. I'm like, oh, I need a snack. And in that moment, I wake up and I'm like, fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Why? And I think
It happens to all of
it's
us, you know, it's just
it's
about,
so
like,
normal.
correcting, you know? You know?
Yeah, and I think it's just giving yourself grace and just kindness to develop that self-awareness too, because in that moment I recognize I'm like, "Oh, I'm purposely avoiding this
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
either 1, don't wanna do it, or 2, I'm not gonna enjoy it," 'cause ADHD brain, like, you have to be stimulated enough for you to want to do the task.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
like, "What is it about this task that's so uncomfortable that I don't wanna do it?"
Yeah.
And you said you make, like, 50 calls a day. After, like, my 3rd call, I'm like, "Man, I'm tired of getting rejected. Is there a snack?"
Exactly.
Is that how you're sourcing your leads for your business? Is mostly through cold calling or
So I work with a lot of, like, great real estate agents as well, so some of them, like, do open houses on the weekends, so, any of those people that come by, their leads, I'll get sent those and I'll call those, so I have, like, a kind of like a list of, past leads, so I get new leads that way. Here and there, social media, like, every once in a while, I've gotten a few people, like, who hit me up on social media, and then, that's pretty much it. My real estate partners, social media. We do have a call center, but, that's mainly for, like, other, loan officers.
Yeah. How do you deal with the fear of rejection? Because for me, I know cold calling, that was the first, I think, phase that I had to break it. 1,
Mhm.
talking to strangers,
Yeah.
and 2, getting rejected.
Yeah, for sure. No, I
How do
was
you
like
work
the
on that?
I was terrible at, like, phone calls, you know, when I
Yeah.
started. You know, I was 19, 20 years old, and I was trying to, like, sell people on mortgages, right? Like, when I was 19, 20 years old, so I have no idea what I'm doing. And I went through the same thing, like, I would do, like, 10 calls, and I'd be like, "Alright, that was good enough, like, I don't wanna, like, get rejected anymore."
Yeah.
And then I would go back and, like, do a few more calls. And then one day I was like, "Okay, like, I'm not gonna get better, like, if I'm just, like, doing 10 calls at a time." So, what I would start doing is, like, I would do as many calls as I could. It was, like, 8 hours a day of, like, calls. I would do, like,
Just call.
yeah. So and it was on auto dialer, so I'd probably would do, like, 200 calls, like, a day, like, 150 to 200 calls a day. And what I would do at the end of the day is I would go and listen to all those calls. And I would listen to myself. Well, how did I sound? What did I say? What could I correct? And I would just start writing those down. And I would write down like, okay, I said way too many times here. I need to correct that. So I put like sticky note for the next week and just make sure like I don't say you know, when I'm
Yeah.
talking. And then if it was, hey, I need to have more positivity in my tone or whatever. Okay, I'll work on that. And then I literally just slowly like within like 90 days, like my calls got a tremendous amount better just because I was willing to look at like my own calls and not judgmental to myself, just like look at it and be like, okay, this is what I need to improve on. Right. And then I would also tell myself like what I did do good on. Right. So that way I'm getting myself the right feedback
Yeah.
and also, you know, training as well, like where I would watch someone else do training and teach and that would help, you know. So that's how I was able to develop like just being able to cold call anybody.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a great skill set now. But back then I was like, I hated it, you know, I did not
Yeah.
like doing it.
'Cause that's something that people don't talk about. It's one, the rejection, because 'cause they're like, "Oh, just get over and do it," but I never actually considered re-listening to your calls,
Yeah.
and you went through, like, the fucking extremes to your calls, you listen to them, and it's a really nice way to frame self-awareness,
Mhm.
is that you have to study yourself in a way, right? Like, that's how you develop self-awareness. It's called self-development because you
Yeah,
have to study yourself.
for sure. And I didn't even
Yeah.
really know what I just knew like I wanted to get better.
Yeah.
And like looking back now, like yeah, it is like you're just able to look at yourself and reflect and like
Yeah.
want to change and like actually make a change, you
Yeah.
know? Like I sound totally different now than I did back then
Yeah.
making calls. So you can literally change the person you are just by reflecting and creating new habits and just doing something different.
Yeah.
Because you can make all these like calls, for example, but if you don't have like something new to say, or if you don't have the right feedback, like how are you going to really change? Even if you do, you know, 200 more calls than I do, right?
Yeah.
There's like you got to either get better or do more, right?
Holy shit, I'm still sitting on that. That's wow. Yeah. Because there's like a road to self mastery is first understanding yourself, and you're just so like calm and collected,
Yeah,
that it's almost like a serial murder vibe.
a little bit,
Like you're just a little too calm. Like, how did you work on yourself energetically speaking, right? In terms of mindset and all of these things that we say, like, we can't build self development on a shaky foundation
right?
because you can stack all the good habits. Like, people can do all the good things they want, but
Mhm.
they're Rocky somewhere on the bottom.
Yeah, and that
And it's
Rocky
still
is
gonna
really just
collapse.
them themselves, right? Like
Yeah.
it's their own like identity, their own
Yeah.
self-worth. And I'm not like I'm still working on myself every day. I
Yeah.
still mess up, but I just try to focus on like again my daily habits and my promises that I keep to myself.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I like when I was in college, I remember someone gave me the 10x book, right? And started listening to it as an audiobook while I was in class, and it was like my first book that like kind of opened up my like mind of like, oh, I can do whatever I want. Like I like meaning like I can go create a life that I want. I don't have to go to college. I don't have to do these things, and that kind of really led me to the path of like wanting to go do real estate, and then
Yeah.
through that I met a lot of great people.
Mhm.
Um, and that just kind of opened up your mind, right? Like
Yeah.
you start seeing other things. You start seeing these like massive like mansions that I've never seen before. I'm like, oh, this is like a reality.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I think the fitness thing helps, right? Like that's like my like foundation for me because it's like the way I do self development within myself.
Yeah.
Some people like to meditate or I don't know whatever it is, but I think through physical activity,
Mhm.
because you're putting yourself in a position to like have to go through something hard.
Mhm.
It just creates like all these like attributes of like mental toughness. It creates obviously like a healthy body, but it's also creates discipline, which can lead to other areas in your life. So it's like it's a very like I think it's one of the fastest ways, and something that people can grasp on like quickly
Mm.
is health and fitness. Like to start off their journey and whatever they want is growth because one, you can see results in like 30, 60, 90 days right away. With the business, you might not see a result until like 5 years,
Yeah.
10 years down the road. And so I think that's why like fitness is such a great first start and a great foundation,
Yeah.
you know?
I love that you brought up the 10X because I think a lot of people either love or hate Grant,
Yeah.
right? Because he's obnoxious and he's out there, but his philosophy works. Just do whatever you think you got to do, just do 10 times more of it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
then it's all about consistency and developing those things that just keep stacking.
for sure.
And, you know, so you read that book, and what was the ideology behind financial freedom that made you make that shift? Like, what was it about financial freedom, or how would you describe going down the path of financial freedom to someone that's like, what? Like, what is that?
Yeah. Um, because I'm not there yet. So, um, but I just feel like real estate. I was always attracted to like real estate and the concept of like you can own these properties and that will generate you income, and it's like this is your income source versus like you going and clocking in, at a job. So I just feel like for me the financial freedom was very just attractive. Like I think most people are like they want that type of like being able to still generate income and live a lifestyle that they choose to live without having to be at a job and having to like work certain hours or do certain things that they truly don't want to do. So I don't think we're meant to do that. So I think as like humans, like we're meant to like have this type of like freedom
Mhm.
and live a certain way and also create like be in creation versus being in like like a rat race and just kind of like
Yeah.
cruise control throughout life.
The autopilot hamster
Yeah,
wheel.
yeah. That's you just see that so much, and then as you start kind of like even breaking out of the mindset, you see how many people are just in that every single day,
Yeah.
and that's at the end of the day, that's their choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people have a negative connotation every time they hear frugality as a philosophy.
Mhm.
They just think
Frugality.
frugality,
Oh,
like
I've
being
never heard that.
frugal,
Okay. Yeah.
and it's just like, oh, so you're just cheap. I'm like, no, I spend money where it counts. Like I spend money on my self investments, my food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's the biggest thing. It's because that's the nutrition that I'm feeding my body so I can go create with my
Right.
brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can go destroy my muscles.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's through food.
Yeah.
It's the energy. And because money is energy, and money is currency. I turn that currency into energy in terms of nutrition. And I
Right.
think
Right.
that's just a really funny way to structure frugality. It's just like spend money where you have value, and that's it, right? And I think it's just before I understood that concept of financial freedom, I always thought it was a number, but it's not, because if I didn't really truly understand my lifestyle and the lifestyle I wanted to live, it's because I was just so conditioned by all the people around me,
Mhm.
right? They were making half a mil, 1.2, but they spent all of it like they just live so lavishly. And I look at their relationships, kind of like you said, like, I'm like, I don't really want to mirror their life because they don't have one, like a happy home. So where their kids want to spend time with them.
Yeah.
And the husband and wife is just superficial on the outside. Like they'll take Facebook pictures, but are they really in love? Are they happy? And I'm like, maybe I am an old school traditional romantic to where I do want that. I
Yeah.
want that fulfilling life to where my kids want to talk to me and like my partner, it's an actual life supporting partner, not just someone that signed the piece of paper with and like buys a home and do all of these
Yeah. Very superficial.
superficial things. Like I want to have a meaningful conversation about the future and like, live on a farm if I want to, or take time off if I want to. And I don't have to be stuck into whatever this trap,
Yeah. For sure.
and I think a lot of the people that I've talked to in the recent days are like, how do you create a lifestyle like that? Because it sounds so woo-woo, like social media. Like, how do you feel about lifestyle creation to where you feel free to do what you choose and live on your own terms?
Yeah. I think it does. I think you can have that freedom as it is, like with yourself, meaning like if like you're having the freedom to like say what you want to say, having the freedom to do what you want to do. You might not be there financially, but it doesn't mean you can't take actions to like that that represent like freedom. Like meaning like if I'm going to go work like 10 hours, like to me, like some people might know that's not freedom. I'm like, well, to me, it's like I'm building a life of freedom. So like I get to enjoy that process, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but I'm like a workaholic. So like, if I think for most people, like if they don't, maybe they don't want to work, but like I like to work, like it's just like I enjoy it. I feel fulfilled when I'm like working. And then, some people are not like that, but just find like whatever like you truly like want to be doing and, like just go for it.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I find meaning in work. I think we're meant to do, like a certain level of work, it's not just about like kicking your feet up in the sand and relaxing, I rarely see people like enjoying their lives doing that. Like
Yeah.
it's more about like serving other people, serving yourself, but like serving other people as well in order to like help other people. Like I feel like the most fulfilled when I'm like helping someone like do their first workout or helping someone educate someone about their finances about like a home and buying their first home. Like I feel way more fulfilled doing that than just like trying to watch. Like I can't even watch TV. Like it's like I'm just not that person,
Yeah.
So
And what I'm hearing is that, we attach ourselves to this like American dream, which is buying the first home.
yeah.
Right. But there's actually people like you that actually care about people, because I have a lot of friends also in the lending industry to where people are just a commission to them.
Oh yeah.
Right. So like 2, 3, whatever percent that I actually don't know right now. But,
Yeah.
so they just attach other people to that commission that they get so that they can go spend their money.
Yeah.
And is there anything that you wish people would ask you more that they don't know about you by just looking at you on social media or just?
I think I'm more of a deeper person than most people like probably think. But like I like to think deeply about things. Uh, I do like to help people. I'm trying to do that more with through my content, with like the things that help me, which is like my fitness, which is like financial education. Um, but I think maybe sometimes I can come off like really like too like not stern. I don't know. Maybe
Mhm.
like I am very like hard on myself, so like I do tend to have that tendency towards like other people because like I when I see someone else, like I see a better version of them, and it's sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad because
Yeah.
maybe they don't want that, but that's on them. So
Yeah.
but I just want the people around me to like be doing better, having a healthier lifestyle, and just feel support. I think there's a very superficial type of support out there, like through social media, or like um, just like regular text messages or whatever it is, which is fine. But like, I want people around me to feel like they have someone they can actually like trust and like who has their back, and like real support. A lot of that is like not really. Um, I think it's kind of like fake a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like fake support.
Oh, you mean not the let's fucking go with
Yeah,
the ship
yeah, yeah,
emojis
yeah,
on
exactly.
Instagram, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think the humanity in us on social media is always reduced down to like number of comments, likes, and all of these algorithmic things that
Right.
we attach our self-worth to. And a lot of that is also external validation, right? Because you're like, why am I putting out content? No one likes it. But sometimes, honestly, have you ever liked something and you just don't even look at it? You're just like, oh, I just want to support
All
them.
the
But I don't
time.
have the 30 seconds to
All the time.
actually look at the content.
Yeah.
So I really do like that. Like you actually want something meaningful and for people to actually get value from what you're trying to provide. Because
Yeah.
if you love something, you would do it for free, which is content, right? Like you're not charging people to take up 30 seconds of their time.
Right.
And I think I find that also really meaningful because it's really hard to distinguish who your friends are. And that's why the circle gets smaller and smaller and everything's kind of like a dot. Like who can actually be there for me? Like if I was thrown in jail, like who do I actually call? Who do I trust? And having that background as a lender is kind of hard because you're so structurally tied. And I do see what you mean by like you come off more stern,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I'm like this. I'm disciplined. Like I'm very like
Yeah.
like, this is how it goes type of thing.
Yeah. So people
So
can
sometimes-
misread that. Like this
Yeah.
guy's so serious.
Yeah, exactly. It's like very serious and
Yeah.
like, and I am like it's, for the majority of times.
Yeah.
But like when with my close friends, like I love to like go like work out or
Yeah.
go. I love going to car shows and things like that. So there's things that I'm super passionate about. But I do think like you should take life seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah. So let's end on something like, what do you want to do? How do you want your life to look like once you reach your financial freedom? What does life look like for you?
I think I'm just gonna be like trying to help people. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of what I want to do now. But like everything that I learn to do as I grow, I just want to be able to teach others the same. Like if I can, when I become like a certain, it just doesn't even have to be a certain level, but like as I grow, like even now, like I can still help people with like fitness and all these other things and finances. So I just think I'll find more worth in like what I do with like the people I help,
Yeah.
and like I like doing that. Like,
Yeah.
I do. So I would just be doing it at a bigger scale. I don't necessarily have like a certain like degree outcome of like what it's going to look like.
Or like how many people?
Like how many people, or I think how it's going to like all, I really don't tie myself into like the exact detail of that, but I do just, again, I just take the pride in the steps that I take every single day.
Yeah.
And then I think that will take care of itself.
Yeah. I really respect that discipline that you have because I always say like if we can change just one life and help somebody up or just change their life to where they're happy about where they're at, that's one less soul that we're going to lose, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so many people living in misery or they end up taking that route to where they end their life because they're so miserable. And I think that's the biggest pain point that I've had talking to a lot of people is they're so miserable.
Yeah.
And the only way out is out. And that's just something that we don't really talk about enough,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I just want to acknowledge your service to others and the fact that you don't have to be at a certain financial status to help. Like you can help at any level that.
Yeah, no, I think we're called to do that, at a certain level. But at the same time, like, you do want to like continue to like level up as well in order to really show like true growth and not just, at least for me, like that's the people that I want to be around is like they're always continuing growing in all areas in life, not just one area.
Yeah. That your standard's a lot higher.
Yeah.
Who has access to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say?
No.
We're all like deep and introspective.
Super, yeah. No.
We went like hella inward on that one. I was like, man.
No, that's true. Yeah. I just want people to like live a good life and like
be the best versions of
be the best
themselves.
version. Like I think fitness is like a great way to start. If like you don't know where to start, like don't worry about finances. Like just keep the promises to yourself and treat your body right, and like that's already will build enough momentum to like lead you into other areas in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool, dude. Thanks for being here today. I just want to acknowledge you for your time. I know you're busy. You got like 50 calls after this.
Oh, it's all good. I'll knock it out in an hour.
Yeah. Okay, so hopefully you guys got some valuable insights from Kevin. You can find him on Instagram.
Instagram is my main source, Kevin.Duboe. But we'll put it in there.
We'll put it in there somewhere.
That's where mainly you can find me is Instagram.
Yeah. Cool. So my name's Tani. You can find me on IG at Tanosaurus. And stay fit and stay frugal. Peace.